Now, as you know, with every positive, there is a negative. So even though a lot of these reviews were positive and there are a lot of great things said about this game in these reviews, there were things that I've noticed just kind of compiling all of this information. I've noticed some patterns in things like, the open world, having that same type of feel, that old stale open world. I've also noticed that it's kind of, you know there are some issues as far as like with camera work and how you control the camera. So some more technical issues, and the last thing that I've noticed is just kind of how people are a little. Even though this is the second game in the series, people are a little fatigued. They're a little fatigued with how this formula is playing out. How these heroes go about their journey. Some of the gameplay, was it built on enough to make this feels like a real big leap in the series, or is it a lot of the same thing that you did good the last game? So let's kind of jump into what some of these negative aspects of a lot of these reviews look at. The first one being the repetitive open world. So Chris Tapsell of Eurogame, he said something that was a little scathing that I kind of really didn't expect from this type of game and this type of developer. But it said it would be better served as a linear action game, freed from its poor side quests and dated open world. Mm. So what poor side quest sounds like to me is that they have a few different types of side quest missions, and those few types of side quest missions are exactly the same, or if you played the first three, you've played all 30. And that's an issue for me because I am one of those gamers that I'm going to go do all the side quests. I want to make sure that I have all the abilities. I'm not a completionist, but my first playthrough, I am definitely trying to complete as much as I can before I get fatigued. And a lot of that's because the next time I play games, I like to do new game plus. So I want to kind of have as many collectibles as I can absolutely get in my first playthrough, especially because I play it on hard mode. So I say all that to say, the repetitive open world activities that's something that I am concerned about, and it's something that I'm gonna have to test myself because again, I played Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it did that formula did kind of that open world stuff. It did get. It's like, okay, how many of these dice shows do I have to take out? How many? There's not a lot differing this side quest from another. So yeah, man, that's something that I am concerned about as a semi completionist. Just those open world activities becoming repetitive really fast. So another thing that I've noticed is formula fatigue. And I'm going to hit on a post right here from Gene Park from the Washington Post. He says, the strongest criticism I can level at Yotei is that it isn't dramatically different from Tsushima. Game style and open world formula. So essentially, what he's saying is there isn't a lot's changed. Tsushima came out in what, 2020? We're in 2025. So you've had 5 years to develop this, or 4 or 3 years, or whatever that looks like, too, however that looks, and there's nothing dramatically different from how you interact with the world from the last game. Now, for me, that's an issue. That's an issue for me because you need to make when you have these type of franchises, that franchise needs to take a risk. That franchise needs to implement things from the first game that I'm sorry, implement things in that second game that the first game wouldn't even it wouldn't even have been an option to. It wouldn't even been a thought to do. So I think that this game not evolving in some areas, especially with the whole open world and the formula that they use, I think it's very important that they evolve because that's gonna make sure that the series it elevates and it continues going forward. So that is something that I'm concerned about. However, I didn't play Ghost of Tsushima, so all of this is going to be completely new to me. But I do think that is something to important to mention. Now, let's talk about some technical issues and some design issues. So the one thing that really bothers me and really makes me think like, okay, this is going to be an issue for me. Richard Wakeling of GameSpot, he says the camera is an occasional hindrance during combat. Now, I don't know how many guys, how many of you guys play things like God of War, Assassin's Creed, Lives of P, or any type of Souls like or whatever the case may be, any type of third person action game. The camera is very important. Now, for me, I prefer a nice tight camera that follows me over my shoulder and it's always in front of me and it's looking at my enemies, and I don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting for the camera. Some games require you to control the camera with your right thumb with the right stick. So it seems like this game is kind of leaving that camera work up to you, and you're rotating that stick around and understanding where the camera needs to be, when it needs to be, why it needs to be, and how it needs to be, which is fine, but it also takes away from the combat. Now you're, instead of you worrying about using an item or doing a combo or changing your weapon, you're more so worried about how is the camera angle, am I looking at the correct enemy, am I targeted on the correct enemy. So that is something that is really concerning for me as far as those technical issues, because I do think that's very important for these games to be enjoyable, a good camera experience. So very interested to see what that looks like.